Hi, I'm Zach,
And I'm Lindsay.
and this is the Game Forums predictions for the PlayStation 5.
So, to start off, Zach, when do you think we're actually going to get a glimpse of what the console's going to look like?
So, I think that we're going to get a tease, at least I hope we're going to get a tease at the June 4th reveal. Maybe it's just a still image accompanied with the controller. That could be like a cool, like, oh, one more thing, just to give us a little glimpse of the console. If it's not then, I honestly don't know because by this time, uh, when the PS4 launched, we knew only like we knew the price, we knew what the console looked like, we knew the release date too. So like they're very far behind, but that also calls for like a very interesting marketing strategy that they could bring about. That it's honestly we just don't know, which is fun, but also like we don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out exactly how they're going to organize everything. Um, I do think there'll probably be a special event for the console reveal itself. It's just kind of the feeling I get.
Yeah,
Because they'll probably want to say the price when they actually show the console. Because in previous iterations of the PlayStation, they've come out and shown this is the PlayStation, 3 or their PlayStation 4, and it's going to be X amount of money.
right.
They could always change up that formula, but I kind of get the feeling that it's going to be its own standalone event. Um, the event on June 4th, it seems like they might be leaning more toward games. So I kind of feel like it'll be a little bit after that, but I think
Yeah,
it'll be following shortly behind it. I don't think it's going to be too far off.
yeah. They are calling it the future of gaming, so I think they're trying to set expectations that they're not going to delve deep into the actual console itself, but they are going to show a bunch of games. I mean, it's over an hour long, which is that this is good. This is a good healthy amount of content, hopefully, that people have been wanting, especially from Sony and PlayStation that have been so silent for a year and a half now,
Yeah,
at least a year since
it's been
E3 of
a
last year.
yeah. They haven't really shown anything about the PlayStation this whole year. Now there was the Epic Games, unveil of the new
Yeah,
Unreal Engine 5 on a PlayStation, but that wasn't actually from PlayStation.
yeah. So it's this is going to be interesting to see exactly where they're at headspace wise because they did get rid of all of their figureheads. Like Xbox has Phil Spencer, and PlayStation had Andrew House, uh, Sean Layden. Shuhei Yoshida is still a part of it. Jack Tretton, Adam Boyes. These were all figureheads that would come out during E3. Everybody knew them. They knew, they had a presence to them. And it was kind of like a celebrity. Like they had these people kind of like, oh man, when Sean Layden comes out, he's going to be announcing something crazy. They're all gone now. Like Shuhei Yoshida, who was head of Worldwide Studios, stepped down to focus on indie stuff, and they moved Herman Hulst up, which was a good decision on I think on their part. But now it's like they replaced Sean Layden with Jim Ryan, and I don't know how much you've seen of Jim Ryan when he talks. He's very like stoic and boring, and that's not who you want in front of your console to sell it. So I don't know how they're going to approach this. I'm worried that it's going to be a very like corporate approach, but as long as they got the goods, then I guess I'll be okay with it.
Yeah, I think they'll probably have less of a focus on like who's showing it because they don't really have as many standout people that people are familiar with by name anymore.
Yeah.
Um, but I could see, essentially one person hosting it and showing off a bunch of different aspects of the console at reveal. And I do think they'll probably shift more of a focus to the console than necessarily who's promoting it. Um,
Yeah, yes. Speak with their guns and not so much like, here's people talking about the console. We're just going to show you the console and tell you what it does because that's all you really care about.
yeah. And as I mentioned before, I think we'll probably see a price announcement when they show the console itself.
Yeah,
What kind of price range do you think they're going to be looking at?
I think honestly, the sweet spot's $499. $500. I feel like that is good. That is perfect. And from what has been rumored about the PS5, that's a premium price. It's $100 more than the PlayStation 4, but if you add in inflation, then it's really not that much different. It's about the same. And I mean, honestly, they could bump a $600 price tag on it. They'd get a lot of crap, but someone like me, I would spend that money for this console because of it's gonna be worth it. Maybe not on launch day, maybe even not within the launch year. Which even though I think it will be worth it at least within the launch year. But as a PlayStation enthusiast, I am willing to drop. I I guess I don't want to eat my own words, but I am willing to drop whatever they ask for the PlayStation 5. But if it's $500, then like hands over fist, that is a price I am absolutely willing to pay. What are you expecting it to be?
I would probably have to agree with you. I think $500 is kind of the sweet spot. I think it's
Yeah,
probably going to cost them a little bit more in production cost, at least
yeah,
at first until they scale up. But I don't see them hitting, especially after the pushback they had from the PlayStation 3,
yeah,
um, and really kind of handed it over to Xbox on that generation. I don't see them coming out saying $600 or $700 or anything crazy like that. I would have to say probably $500 is about what I would expect. I don't really think it'll be any cheaper than that, especially with as much stuff as they're going to be putting into this. I do think it'll probably be kind of on the higher side, but
yeah.
I think getting any higher than that is start going to get them into territory of negative press.
Yeah, that is true. And like coming off of the, well, not coming off hot off the heels of the PlayStation 4 reveal, that was some time ago, but they did have all those punches that they were able to pull with the 399 price tag, the ability to share games, no DRM, you don't have to check your system online, like any of this, all the stuff that Xbox is really toting, they kind of took advantage of that. And right
Yeah.
now the playing field's a little more level, and so like, but I feel like the people there are gonna want to like recreate that again because of how successful it was. And there's interesting ways that they can do that. It's just whether or not that was in the plans from the get-go, or if it's going to be like, is this conference more reactionary, or was it planned all along, just some things have shifted because of like the coronavirus?
Now, speaking about the price and coronavirus as well, we also know that they have pretty much all their orders in before the coronavirus hit.
Yes.
So the price will actually not be affected by the coronavirus at all. I do think that'll probably cause a limited production, especially at launch. But that also means I don't think we're going to be seeing a $600 or $700 console because the prices of all their equipment to build it have gone up through the roof. So I think a $500 price tag is still probably going to stay in place. It's just going to be good luck trying to get one.
Yeah, which is never a good. I mean, it's good, to everybody's trying to buy it, nobody can buy it. Everybody's gonna want to recreate the Wii situation because it was like everyone and their mother was trying to get that console. But I also feel like there's a lot of people that like I want to get it on launch because I'm afraid that if I don't, that it's gonna be a few months or more before it's like back in stock, and so that's never going to be fortunate enough. And then you're going to have people that are scalping, and it's just like it'll be an ugly situation, and that could unfortunately like, well, the PS5s are all sold out, so I might as well buy the Xbox.
Yeah.
So that might not work in their favor.
Now, do you think that we're going to see as high initial uptake on the next gen consoles as the current gen? Because the current gen was quite a step up from last gen, but with a lot of the graphics we're seeing at first, and it's much closer to the PlayStation 4 than the PlayStation 4 was to the PlayStation 3. So I think there might be a bit of hesitance for a lot of people, especially after a lot of folks have lost a lot of money due to the COVID crisis.
Yeah.
Um, I think there might not be a strong initial sales push for the next generation of consoles as there was on this last gen.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I do think, however, that if Sony is smart enough, they will use that to their advantage and showcase like amazing quality things that are only found on PlayStation 5 to kind of like shoehorn in everybody to like, hey, if you want this premium experience, you want a sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn, you have to play it on PS5. And so it's very possible that they do like make it so appeasing and appetizing to get the new console. However, they would be very dumb on their part to ignore the 110 million PS4s that have been sold.
Yeah.
That is a market that you do not want to forget because they could easily move over to the other guys, and then all of a sudden you're outnumbered. And so it's gonna be tricky because they can't just ignore everyone that has a PlayStation 4 currently, but I don't know what their plans are for PS4 moving forward with the new consoles. We know what Xbox's plans are. They for the next 18 months from the launch of the Series X, everything is going to be on everything, which that's going to affect game development because you have to design your game to run on the Xbox One and the Series X. But on the PlayStation, you can design a game strictly from the ground up for PlayStation 5. And that's marketing wise, that's going to pay off because people are going to see like, well, Sony, they're doing next gen, so I should buy a PS5. It's just whether or not the 110 million people that do own a PS4 see it that way. And so that's a I'm assuming that's a pretty huge risk that Sony is going to have to take
Uh,
and battle with.
I definitely think it's a risk, and the way I look at this is there's definitely going to be some games that come out for the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. Um, but I think there's going to be a couple games that come out on the PlayStation 5 and only come out on the PlayStation 5 due to its new jump in technology, simply because they are not capable of even playing a lower resolution game on the PlayStation 4 due to like how the SSD loads in, textures and environments. There might be a game with no load times and you can see everything everywhere. I guess something more similar to Red Dead or something, that just isn't possible on a PlayStation 4. And stuff like that has me really excited for the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, because like with what we're seeing with Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part Two at the end of the PS4 life cycle, like what are we getting on the PS5? Now I do fully expect like let's say uh, a new Ratchet and Clank game launches on PlayStation 5, when it comes out. But there's also a PS4 version of that because that's not a taxing game. Like I can imagine that they can make it, run well enough on the PS4 and then have some cooler features on the PS5, add in some ray tracing, make the loading times if there is any, almost instantaneous. So stuff like that I see, but they're big like cinematic experiences. I think they're going to use those to kind of levitate people towards the PS5. So like Spider-Man 2, God of War 2, the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn, Bloodborne 2, the Order 1887, Days Gone 2. I think those are going to be PS5 exclusives because they know that people love those games and will be willing to move them over to the next console. It's just whether or not if they are very strategic in placing those to where like they can't like promote Horizon Zero Dawn 2 coming out in January of 2021 if they don't have PlayStation 5s until March of 2021,
Yeah. And that brings up another interesting point, too. What do you think about some current gen games being re optimized for PlayStation 5 as an exclusive? Like, let's say they take Spider Man. We saw the load demos in that,
Yeah.
and they say, okay, we're going to do an upscale re release or whatever they want to call it. And, they add in ray tracing. They add in, running off this new hard drive. Maybe Red Dead looks nearly photorealistic with ray tracing. And instead of having to wait like 5 minutes for the game to load, it boots up instantly.
Yeah, I think that is highly likely. I don't know if it would be like an exclusive deal. I think that, well, I don't know, because it may have to be up to the developer to add in a patch. So maybe that extra work could I be like, well, Microsoft could go to Rockstar and be like, well, hey, we'll pay you extra money to do an exclusive, patch or upgrade. I have a feeling that they're doing that with Cyberpunk, because Cyberpunk, with CD Projekt Red, they're teaming up for marketing. When Cyberpunk is going to be shown at the end of that trailer, it's the Xbox logo that pops up.
Yeah.
And they have already announced that they are doing smart delivery, but they have not said anything about the PlayStation 5. Now, that could be because PlayStation hasn't said anything, so they can't really be the first ones to speak. But what if, you know, when Cyberpunk 2077 comes out on the PS4 and the Xbox One, if you want to buy it on the next gen versions of Series X, the next Xbox, you already own it for Xbox One, so you get it for free. But if you want to play it on PS5, you have to pay for it. Like, I wonder if that's going to be a thing.
I think PlayStation will probably end up coming to some kind of deal, at least with some of the major games at launch,
Yeah.
of having like a timed cross compatibility kind of deal,
Yeah.
because that would be a huge thing for Xbox to kind of like lord over them. Oh, you have to buy the game twice on PlayStation. This is how Xbox does sharing.
Yeah.
I don't see Sony letting that happen. I see them spending some money to, at least at launch, have that kind of maybe 6 month window where if you buy Cyberpunk on the PlayStation 4 and have a PlayStation 5, you can download and the upgraded PlayStation 5 version for free. I don't know if that'll be a forever thing,
Yeah.
especially as like, let's say you bought Red Dead a year ago and now you have a PlayStation 5 and they put out an up-resed version of it a year from now. I kind of doubt you'll be able to get that one for free.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe something like that. They may do like a $10 upgrade patch or however what they decide. Uh, yeah, I think you're right. I think Sony they wouldn't allow Xbox to kind of run off with that, especially with like how easily they kind of got bullied into crossplay. I think they know like we have to compete on a similar level to our competition service wise, and not just like, well, we have great exclusives. Like, people are they're gonna catch on and be like, well, it's cheaper if I just go Xbox, and I'm only losing out on like 2 games a year. And to some people that may be worth it, saving however much hundreds of dollars a year you can save on having Game Pass as opposed to buying a $60 game.
And I guess also looking at like some of the older games and stuff, what do you think about backwards compatibility? You think we'll be able to just get a PlayStation 2 disc and throw it in here? Do you think we'll be able to download a PlayStation 2 game off something like PlayStation Now? How do you think this is going to work?
I think it's going to be a mixture of both, because there has been some information that leaked from a Turkish website. It looked like it was one of those like screenshots or screen grabs that you can get after the PS5 event in June 4th happens, and then it's like, okay, send this out, and social media going to post it everywhere, so that way it's all the information, easy access. One of those had leaked through this Turkish website, and it had been translated, and it looked like it was saying, well, no, it didn't look like it did say that it was going to be able to play PS2 and PS3 discs. Now, it did not say if you can download those games. It didn't say if they were related in any way to PS Now. I believe it did say that the PlayStation 1 is to be determined. They're still kind of working on that. Now, there is, the fact that this is a leak. It could have been photoshopped, although it did look pretty good. It looked real. There's the possibility that none of this is true, so it's all rumors. So take everything that I say as a grain of salt. But I think that it would make sense considering what Mark Cerny had put up on the road to PS5 with the little photo, and it looked like there was enough room for 1 to 2, maybe 3 different extra things added when they were talking about backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
And so it seems like it's very possible. There was also that leak of the patent that came out, or I guess it wasn't a leak, but the patent that did come out talking about how they were working on technology to play like the generational technology to play through PS1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 games all on one system. So all of that kind of crammed together and seeing how Game Pass is taking off for Xbox and how PS Now has kind of been changing and improving, it's very possible that uh, maybe not at this event June 4th, but maybe the full like console reveal talking about everything that it does. We could get PS Now is going to include PS1, PS2, and PS3 games that you can download, and they have trophy support on PS1 and PS2. It's really I don't know, but the likelihood of full backwards compatibility seems higher than before, just because that would be the secret that they can unleash and then really take it really makes them stick out, considering that they were so quiet before. What do you think? Do you think that we're going to get full backwards compatibility, or is it going to be like still streaming, but just a wider variety of games?
I think we will continue to see streaming. I do think we will see like disc-based backwards compatibility because at this point, I think it'll be just mainly a software patch to read the different aspects of the discs themselves.
Yeah,
Um, I can easily see, it supporting PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 games. My interesting point, though, is I don't know if we're going to see it play PlayStation 4 games. And I definitely think it'll have the capability of doing it, but that'll really eat into the sales of the PlayStation 4. And especially if they are having a hard time producing a lot of PlayStation 5s, they're really going to want to give that support to the PlayStation 4. And it's probably going to have a quite a long life cycle even after the PlayStation 5's release. So I might be able to see that as a patch later on in the future, a couple years in.
yeah.
I kind of doubt you'll be able to get, you know, a PlayStation 4 disc, throw it in a PlayStation 5, and play it just like you could on a PlayStation 4. I just kind of feel like they'll shoot themselves in the foot a little bit if they do that, and it definitely help promote the PlayStation 5. You know, that from instant launch, that's tens of thousands of games. PlayStation 2, 3, and 4 games all playable on the PlayStation 5. That would be a huge deal. And people could turn around and sell their PlayStation 4s to get money to buy a PlayStation 5. And that would also help Sony because if they already have a PlayStation 4, they've bought it from Sony once. If they turn around and go to GameStop or sell it to a friend or sell it on eBay, and buy a PlayStation 5, Sony gets to have that extra income from them buying directly from them again. So, instead of being like, oh man, I really wish I could keep playing this PlayStation 4 game I love to play so much, but I want a PlayStation 5, and they did allow you to play PlayStation 4 games on a PlayStation 5. I think that'd be a big push for getting one, but I'm kind of hesitant to say that it'll have that capability at launch simply because they want to keep pushing the sales. And with that being said, since there'll be a much more ubiquitous stuff in the PlayStation Store, do you think you'll be able to download any title you've bought on a PlayStation 4 onto a PlayStation 5?
I don't think every title that you have purchased will be. There may be some concessions due to like licensing issues. I do think that it would be very wise for them to let those carry over, because you don't want to harm or piss off the people that spent money on those games on the PlayStation 4 and then move over to the PlayStation 5 and then feel like they've locked out of that experience. They kind of I think they learned that from the PS3 moving to PS4, and if their architectures are similar, then I would hope that you could at least continue what you already purchased over to the PS5. Maybe it switches over to like the PS4 legacy mode, and it's just like, yeah, just play it. It's not a PS5 version of this PS4 game. It's just a PS4 game, and I feel like that would I hope that's standard. I mean, surely
I hope that's standard too. I'm just a little wary on if they're going to allow that at launch, simply because I think it'll hurt the PlayStation 4 sales, but I would sincerely hope that they would allow that to happen because, let's say you get a PlayStation 5 and there's only a couple games that you really want for the PlayStation 5. Do you really want to have to go back and switch over to your PlayStation 4 and grab your PlayStation 4 controller and then, go back in and, keep having to switch back and forth, or just have everything on one console?
Yeah. So I do think that they'll it would make sense. It would be better if you were able to play like a PS4 version, of, the PS4 game on your PS5. That way, you're not having to switch back and forth. I do believe that they said that the DualShock 4 will work on the PS5, so they at least have that going. So you would hope that since they said that, then that means that they're going to be a little more supportive on what PS4 games come to the PS5. Now, they did come out and say that all PS4 games made after July 3rd of this year have to be compatible with PS5. But that kind of tells you that like then the games have to have something extra done to them to be compatible with the PS5. It's not like you're just like putting in a PS4 disc and it works. There has to be something done on their side for it to register. So that's going to be really interesting to see exactly what they do. And then do you think that backwards compatibility is important? Like if it launches and it does not have full backwards compatibility, is that going to like determine whether you get the console or not?
It won't for me. I do think, especially at the beginning of a console's launch, that backwards compatibility is incredibly important because at the launch of a new console, it's not really going to have a whole lot of titles to stand on. But if you can bring in, all the titles you've played on your current gen console to that next gen console, in addition to the new gen games, that'll give you a much richer library of stuff to play and really give it a much more fulfilling experience for a next gen console. As where, you know, time goes on, let's say, 5 years from now, the PlayStation 5 has a huge plethora of games everywhere. It's not going to be as important to be backwards compatible then versus right now.
Yeah, I do agree. The way I play games, I like to like beat them and then move on to the next one. I typically don't replay games other than like the few standouts. I mean, I've probably played less than 10 games that on PS4 that had come out, in generations prior. So that's not really a huge deal to me if the PS5 launches and they don't have backwards compatibility or at least limited. It's not really going to affect me at all just because I want to play the new stuff. I want to play new games, new experiences, and I'm pretty confident that I'm going to keep my PS4. I have the PlayStation 4 Pro, so I think I plan on being I would like to be able to hold on to it and keep it so that way if let's say there isn't immediately availability of PS4 games on the PS5, then I could just turn on my PS4 and then have it accessed right there. But I mean overall I'm not really like that's not going to determine whether I get the new console or not. I want new experiences, which is why I'm willing to spend $500 on a console like that.
Yeah. Now that being said, though, there are a lot of really good party games on like the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 3 that I really haven't played in a while because I don't have access to them on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
And I always have a lot of get-togethers with friends and stuff like that, and that is one thing that I do kind of miss the PlayStation 4 having the capability of doing, because there are some of those style games, especially when you have good big get-togethers with friends you haven't seen in a while. Be like, man, I really wish I could play that. And it's like, well, I'd like to, but like my PlayStation 3 controllers, like they haven't charged or the batteries are dead or something like that, to be able to be like, okay, yeah, I just got the disc right here. I'll throw it in the PlayStation 5. Let's play that thing from like 15 years ago, or being able to download it or however they'll allow you to do it. I would appreciate it from that aspect anyway.
Yeah, it'd be a good fan service to do that, especially if you're competing with Xbox, who is like, it seems like they're trying to put everything on everything. You know, they want original OG Xbox games. From a report that I think Phil Spencer gave out, or like from Microsoft, that they're trying to, or they already have come up with a technology to add like 4K resolutions and HDR support to games that came out on the original Xbox.
Tell us what you think about the next gen PlayStation in the comments down below. And until next time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.